Hank Keller had the map in his hand when she raised the violation notice like a verdict. She didn't knock, didn't look at the sign, and Hank tilted the paper just enough to begin ending hers. Hank didn't move. The paper flapped once. Red ink, legal tone, wrong ground. She didn't know where she was standing, but Hank did, every inch of it. He traced the edge of the map with one thumb. Slow, like a man reading his own past. There was a stake under the cedar tree, still buried, marked by his father in the spring of '86. Hickory rope, 2 surveyor's knots, measured twice. He hadn't spoken about it in years, didn't need to. The lines were still there, even if the HOA never saw them. A breeze caught the edge of the map. He caught it without looking, didn't fold it, didn't flinch. Behind him, his brother shifted. Gravel popped under one boot. Still silent, still watching. Hank's eyes lifted, past the clipboard, past her words, to the sign on the gate. Not just a marker, not just wood. It was promise, boundary, grave. His wife had painted it by hand, back when they first nailed it in. She used to say, "Let them knock first." No one knocked today. The notice was still up, still clipped to the post. But Hank wasn't reading it anymore. He blinked once, tilted the map forward, not for her, for himself. Like setting a piece down on the board, a move made, quiet, but irreversible. She kept talking, but the dust between them had already chosen a side. The clipboard touched the fence post before she said a word. Flat. Intentional. As if it belonged there. Then came the paper. Not folded, not offered. Pinned, 2 thumbtacks, 1 press, another, firm measured. It was red-lettered, angled toward the road. A warning. Or something that wanted to be. Hank didn't speak, didn't shift. Just watched the shadow of her arm stretch across the title sign. She didn't glance at it, didn't pause. The gate stood 6 inches from her boots. She didn't step through, but didn't need to. She was already in. The kind of in that isn't physical, the kind that assumes control. She read something off the clipboard, regulations, ordinance numbers. Her tone was clipped, rehearsed, like she'd practiced this in someone else's driveway. This is formal notice from the HOA regarding unauthorized use. The wind caught the edge of the map in Hank's hand. He didn't grip it tighter, didn't need to. She unrolled a coil of plastic tape from her bag. Orange, thin. She stretched it from the fence post to a stake she'd brought with her, pressed it into the dirt, not deep, just enough to claim something. The tape dipped once in the breeze, then held. Behind Hank, his brother exhaled, sharply, like a man catching a smell he didn't like. Still, Hank didn't move. Not yet. She stepped back 2 paces, scanned the yard like it was a checklist, then wrote something down. Never once looked at the sign. Not the map, not the gate, just the dirt, like she already knew who it belonged to. Hank looked down. At the corner of the map, at the year, and just above it, a thin orange line cutting across everything. Some things don't need noise to be deeply wrong. You've probably stood in that same silence, knowing exactly what they crossed. If the story struck something in you, the comments are open, quietly. The second notice came 2 days later. Same paper, different ink. This time, the name on the letterhead was spelled wrong. Hank didn't correct it. He just photographed it, front, back, and the way it curled at the corner, like it had been reprinted in a rush. That morning, someone had moved the orange tape, shifted it 4 inches inward, closer to his porch. It left a faint dust line across the gravel, like a trail no one admitted to leaving. By noon, a folded HOA flyer had appeared in his mailbox. Not mailed, dropped. He unfolded it slowly. Inside, a diagram, lot boundaries, revised, parcel 112, shaded gray, marked shared common buffer zone. No vote, no notice. He walked the fence again. The gate post felt lighter. Screws loose. One missing. He didn't fix it. Behind the glass of his screen door, the clipboard still hung. Karen's notice, untouched. Let them see it. Let them forget it was still there. That evening, a neighbor waved, then dropped her hand halfway. Didn't cross the street. The HOA held a casual meeting the next night. No agenda posted. Lights stayed on late in the clubhouse. A car parked across Hank's driveway. No one inside, just idling, 5 minutes, then gone. His brother asked if they should say something. Hank didn't answer, just took another picture of the fence post, of the dust line, of the wrong name on the second notice. He flipped open his old boundary ledger, ran his finger down the margin, stopped at a number, then closed the book. 3 days later, the community bulletin board had a new rule tacked to it. Smaller font, different color, same header. It now read, "Gate structures may be modified or removed at the board's discretion in areas deemed public buffer." Hank read it twice, then looked back at the gate. The screw was gone, but the brass marker was still there. Hank opened the drawer, no sound, just the weight of old wood. Inside, the parcel ledger. He didn't read it, just laid it down on the porch table, beside a folded map, beside an envelope with no return address. 5 neighbors sat on folding chairs, all quiet. One of them was the retired notary. Another, Mrs. Elkins, had lost her shed last year to a shared property clause. She kept her eyes low until Hank spoke. Before we continue, he unfolded the map. Red ink bled across the old parchment. "I'd like everyone to look at the original boundary record." A pause. No wind, just the creak of one chair. "Parcel 112. He tapped the corner. "Held privately, recorded. No HOA coverage since 1986. Karen stepped up fast, didn't wait to be asked. "This meeting isn't sanctioned. That map isn't valid. The board." Hank didn't look at her. He turned to the notary. "Do you remember who signed the original exclusion clause?" The notary nodded, slow. "Franklin Dryden. That was before the second annex vote failed." He glanced around. "He was HOA president at the time." Karen froze. Just a flick, barely a breath, but enough. "That name's on the current violation notice?" Hank lifted the envelope. Her signature was there, below Dryden's. Silence. Mrs. Elkins looked up, then reached into her purse, pulled out a folded HOA flyer. "The one I got said parcel 112 was open buffer." She turned it over. Same font, different name, no signature. "That's not legal," the notary said, quiet. Karen stepped back, not far, but enough to break the circle. Hank didn't move. He just closed the map, folded it once, then again, and spoke low. "To void a boundary, you'd need the county clerk, and a vote." He stood, the ledger still on the table. Karen didn't respond, just held the violation notice, lower than before. The real strike hadn't come yet, but the rope, it had slipped from her hands. The gate was open, but the sign still hung. Private land, title held since 1986. Hank didn't move. He stood where dust met shadow, the ledger in one hand, the old map in the other. Karen stepped forward, clipboard tight in her grip, her voice clear, rehearsed. "This structure violates updated Regulation 14B.1, Community Line of Sight Ordinance." She turned, half smiling to the gathered neighbors. "We're here to protect neighborhood integrity, safety, compliance." 2 men nodded, but others stayed quiet, watching Hank. He laid the map on the gate, tapped the red print. "Recorded exemption, 1986, same clause Dryden signed." Karen stiffened. "No clause can override a vote." She reached into her folder, pulled out a glossy flyer. "This went to every property owner last month. Revised parameters passed unanimously." Hank didn't answer. He just looked to the left. Mrs. Elkins stepped from her porch, tight sweater, cane. She walked slow, but her voice, firm. "That's not true." Karen turned, startled. "Excuse me? You told me this was about beautification, not compliance. You said it was temporary." The old woman held up her phone. Same message, word for word. Karen's eyes flicked to the crowd. They weren't nodding anymore. One man coughed, another looked away. Hank didn't smile. He just reached into his back pocket, pulled out the original HOA mailer. No mention of 14B.1, no timestamp. Just a photo of a clean gate and a line, "Help us restore visual harmony." The notary stepped forward, took the flyer, read it, twice. "This isn't a legal directive," He folded it once, launched without board approval. Karen opened her mouth, but nothing came. Silence fell, sharp, unshifting. Hank looked down, then up, slow, met her eyes. "You said it was about safety." He pointed behind her, to the gate she'd walked past. The latch was broken, the lock cut clean. HOA standard, her standard. She turned, but didn't walk away. Hank said nothing, did nothing. The truth had already spoken, and the room finally saw her. The light was low, dust still in the air, no voices, just the wind shifting along the ridge. The gate stood half open, the paper still fluttered, pinned to a nail that didn't belong there, creased, wrong. He stepped forward, no rush, no glare, just precision. Hank reached up, tore the violation notice clean from the wood. Didn't crumple it, didn't read it. He folded it once, then dropped it at her feet. Behind him, his brother didn't move, just watched, as he always did. Then the hammer came out. Old, worn handle, the kind used too many times to count. Hank raised it, once, then again. 2 nails, wood tapping wood. The sign slid back into place. Private land, title held since 1986. The echo traveled farther than the sound. She didn't speak, didn't dare step forward. Her shoes stopped just shy of the dust line. Hank adjusted the corners, took a breath, turned once, met her eyes, then looked away. Not indifference, finality. He didn't need to explain. She now knew. That gate had never opened for her, not once. And now, it never would. The old wood still held the nail marks, faded, weather-worn, but firm. Not everything had to be rebuilt. Some things just needed to be put back where they belonged. The wind moved slower now, as if it too understood something had shifted, not loudly, not publicly, but deeply. She walked away, not humiliated, but uninvited. There are places that look open, until you realize they were never meant for you. Hank didn't watch her go, didn't need to. He had already closed the gate, not with a lock, but with memory. There was nothing left to say. The map was folded, the sign straight, the afternoon quiet. Justice doesn't always arrive like a hammer. Sometimes it arrives like a hand, steadying what others tried to shake, and those who try to rewrite boundaries often forget. Some lines were drawn long before they arrived, because truth doesn't raise its voice. It just waits, stays still, lets the dust settle. Some things don't need to be fought for, as long as you can hold on to reason and stillness.